today, right? So new format actually, because coffee talk weekly meeting about today's
You're
topic.
super hyped.
I'm super hyped, you know, about today's topic because it's gonna be like more interactive and it's like kind of like panel interview, but also meet like speaking and stuff. So I'm super happy because we are different, you know, type how we we were like talking, right? So we were talking like we are different type of speaker, I would say.
Yeah.
And then but it's fun. So what are we going to talk about, Cyril?
Well, good morning, everybody. For the people in the room, thank you for attending. There's tea and coffee. Feel free to help yourself. The people on Zoom, thank you for waking up or for not going to bed. And people on YouTube, enjoy your coffee. What are we going to talk about today? Hype waves, and how things come and go and consolidate into mature industry or piece of technology. And most importantly, how can we educate ourselves about it? Though hopefully by the end of this talk, you will have more than enough information, and how we can profit, how do we get in, how do we get out of a market, a position, a intuition.
I have a curious question. Why do you choose the topic surfing the hype wave? It's pretty cool because like it matched Bali.
Exactly.
Why did you choose that? Like how did you came up with this title?
I chose this title because Vlad, who's here and working with us at all time. We're sitting together, I don't know, 10 or 15 hours per day. And you were putting pressure on me to find a title, and I was looking at a surfer,
No
and
pressure.
I was like, and the thing we're going to talk about today looks like a wave. So I picked his brain, find the word, made up a title.
All right.
So
I'm happy to share. Let's go.
Can we get the next one? Okay, I think that one, we have to because this is a beginner talk. So the idea is to go back to fundamentals, make sure that everybody understand or get the same picture, so then we can build on top of it. So maybe we should start with what is Web3, because we hear a lot of words, and that's one of the things when I would say a new technology or a new trend emerge, there's like crazy words, cryptography, NFTs, plenty of acronyms. So we kind of get lost in that. And I'd like to get everybody some clarity about exactly what Web3 is. In fact, you and me, we had a talk yesterday where you were like, but this is blockchain. And I'm not, nah, Web3 is not just blockchain. It's slightly more than that. Good morning, welcome. As you know, there's coffee, so feel free to have yourself. Can we get the next slide?
So I think we are on the way a little bit, but so let's see how we can. Yeah, I mean Web3, the exciting part is about Web3 is like if I look back the way our life or the technology being implemented in real life, right? So I always if I look back, like it's like a nostalgia, Like if I look back, it was a time when I don't know, many of you guys maybe still remember the time where it's Web 1, we use MIRC. You guys know about MIRC? Like there's only thing that you can do is like Yahoo and stuff. So when I was at school, it was like maybe I was in junior high school. I believe you were adult that time. Yeah.
Yes, I was.
So I was like in junior high school. We were like, hey, this thing, you can chat with other people from other country and with MIRC with this like, I don't know, like some kind of random ID. So there was a time when we were like, the search engine, I think the most famous one was Yahoo. So I remember also the time when I met like my like other people, like a new friend, and I asked like, what is your Yahoo email? So in that case, we can like have a chat, So that was Web 1 basically, right?
That was
so
Web 1.
there was like when not so much interactive. It's like read only, the static one, right? And then Web 2 came in. I don't know if you guys remember or use Friendsters. How many of you guys use Friendster?
I did not.
You do not? MySpace, maybe.
I
right?
did not.
You did also. You were so outdated, man. Like what? So, so Friendster, those kind of things. It was hype. It was the hype. Like everybody, especially in Indonesia, everybody was like using that thing and then communicating that way, right? So it's more interactive. You can share pictures, you can share your videos, you can share something that you like to share. It was Web 2, and then even Facebook was like in the beginning of like something. There was not really hype yet. People were not really talking about it yet, not really using that, but it was, you know, in the beginning of hype, I would say. I didn't really use Facebook. It was like, even for me when I was young, I didn't really use email that much. So we wanted to use something that's more interactive, right? So that's why Web 2 is like more read, write, interactive, where you can like, until you can get to the point where you can do video call, right? So now WhatsApp, Telegram stuff. I remember when I was out like in Germany, and then I wanted to have a video call. It was really, really helpful for me to have a video call, right? So it's easy. So that's Web 2, and then now the rise of Web 3, which is, it's more read, write, trust, verifiable. It's like everything that we are doing right now it can be seen, it's transparent in the way that is trusted and verifiable. So like Bitcoin, Ethereum, it was actually also not the thing that I was really involved in. It was like still like, I think 4 years ago I was involved in this kind of thing. But I think that's Web 3, where we basically more interconnected from each other with more privacy. You know, this is the rise of like the privacy was the problem in Web 2, kind of, you know. So now in Web 3, the privacy is not really the problem anymore. It can be another problem, but it's different how Web 3 basically solves the problem. What do you think about Web 3? So like, what is your experience, I would say?
Okay, so one thing that I completely agree with this evolution. It was, you know, we can read, and then we can read and write, and we have our blog, and we can post content and all that. And I think that Web 3, with the word trust, can come the word value. Now, one thing that is very specific to Web 2, and this is what I would like to focus on, is how Web 2 is a centralized system. Okay, whoever owns the computational power, whoever owns all the data centers, they are making money and they control the data. We've all heard about Cambridge Analytica scandal with Facebook. We know that there's leaks or, you know, hack of millions of personal data. You do not control your personal data, or it's very hard to control your personal data when you are operating on Web 2, because it is centralized, because there is a point of weakness in the centralization. There's a point of control. So if somebody can enter, hack the data center, then they can get the information. So it's both a point of weakness and a point of control, which means that Google or Facebook, they are monetizing us. And we don't really have a choice. I mean, the only choice we have is to not use their service. And
which is, it caused you left behind, you know, in social,
and that's the thing,
engagement,
yes,
and stuff,
yes.
right?
Like this morning, I have a friend who is in tech, and is really in tech, and he was complaining on Facebook about how basically he doesn't control his own feed. You know, you don't even control what you see when you go on social media. It's very hard to parameter and to choose. So that's one thing with Web 2. That's one of the characteristics of Web 2, is how our data and basically the services we are using are centrally controlled by the one who are operating them, and they are making the profit out of it. Now, the thing is, with Web 3, we have a fundamental change, a potential fundamental change in the paradigm. Can we have the next slide, please? And I'm right in front of the text. So let's look at Web 3 using only those three things. Blockchain is just a structure, a data structure, and how we're structuring it. Instead of using centralized data centers, we are using networks of probably millions of computers. Okay? So the information is everywhere at the same time, and it is verified by everybody at the same time, which remove the point of control and, more importantly, the point of weakness. It's nearly impossible to attack a network that is replicating the information all over the planet across millions of computers.
So wait, then does it mean if it's like you say open data structures is blockchain, then the internet or Web 2 is closed data structures?
No.
Or what is the difference? Like, because before it was also open, right?
Well,
if it comes to the structure, data structure.
Okay, so the thing is, it's not about, like, internet is a network, okay? But the information, let's say, if I have my own service, I don't know, I provide a service, I will run my own computer. I will run it on my own computer, and that service is centralized. Now, for you to access that service, you're going to have to prove to me who you are, which means that I am going to store information about you. Okay, your email,
like everybody
your
can
name.
have the server in their home also.
Yes, you can have your own server in your home, or you can
everybody is basically like supporting the structure itself.
Yes, but the thing is, my service, if you subscribe to my service, I'm going to store information about you. Okay? In Web 3, you're going to be in control of your own information, and you're going to choose what to share with whom. Okay? This is just that, just this thing. Personal data right now are scattered across hundreds of different operators. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am on Facebook, I am on Pinterest, LinkedIn, Tinder, 7 of those. But I'm using Airbnb. I mean, the list goes on, okay? Every time, for every one of them, I need to provide information. I need to choose a password. I need to prove who I am to some extent by giving my identity. They all have that information. Often it includes my credit card number, which means that I, or let's say my digital presence is exposed in hundreds of different ways. It's as if I was leaving a copy of my passport everywhere I go, okay, with my credit card, and hope that everybody is not going to fuck it up.
How can blockchain then protect that one?
Well, in that specific case, and I don't want to go too much into the detail because it's not the topic today, but there will be a time where you will have what we call an NFT, a non-fungible token, which basically is a unique set of information. And that thing is encrypted and is stored on the blockchain. Okay? And the thing is then, when I want to access a service, the service is going to ask me to read, but only to read, not to copy the information that they need to make sure that I can use a service. Because if I go on OkCupid, for instance, or Tinder, I need to be 18 plus.
So the original
the
data is state.
Information from my NFT, from my identification NFT, that I am of legal age to use their service. They just get a green check. They don't get the information. That's an example of how we're going to use data in a different way. So blockchain is just a different way of hooking computer that gives the whole thing a lot more resilience. And so far, it's been deployed in an open and public way. Now, those two things, the fact that we can read everything that's going on the blockchain, it has pros and cons. There are a lot of people who would prefer to not show information. And this is a very ethical debate. Personally, I'm in favor of something that is as open and as transparent as possible because it would somehow keep people in check. I'm thinking about Panama Papers and, you know, they who are running the world. Mm-hmm. And but there can be abuse. So that's an open discussion. Now, the second thing, and that one is important, smart contract are these intermediating operations. Okay, everything we do today, as soon as the word value is included, we need intermediaries. If I want to sell you my house and you're willing to buy it, we need a notary. I guess that in 10 or 15 years from now, that won't be the case anymore. We will use a smart contract. So smart contracts are functionality, and they are being run on the blockchain. So they are profiting from the resilience and the solidity and basically the decentralized nature of the blockchain. Now, the last thing...
In the smart contract,
yes.
I'm just curious because like because many people like are concerned about the transition of technology, right? So if the middleman will distinguish, so then there will be no jobs as a middleman there.
Yes.
So there will be then a new job, but the new job is being replaced.
Yeah.
Through a computer.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a total disruption, actually, right?
Oh yes, that's a very nice word. Total disruption. I would not go as far as total. But
somehow,
but there's, well, I know you were here, but I did two talks, one about the third industrial revolution, and another one about how we will own nothing, be happy, and all lose our job. I suggest you go back to them. But yes, basically, a new technology gets people out of job. Okay, internet, email, got a lot of postmen or people working in post services out of job because the volume of letters that was sent every day went from, you know, I don't know, people who were working for Kodak, who used to make film and cameras that were operating on film, you know, they're all out of job. So yes, a new technology induces potential disruption. Now here, the notion of smart contract, you really have to think about it in terms of functionality that are going to make everything, or not everything, but the thing that they're supposed to do, easier, faster, and cheaper.
Also.
Yes. So I usually use the term friction, and I say that it is removing friction. Okay. If I want to sell you my house, we go to a notary, we get papers, we need to sign stuff.
Too complicated.
And they will
too long. Maybe.
Yeah, and they are humans, so they will fuck it up at some point. It's going to take what? Anywhere between 3 months and 6 months, and it's going to cost us a few % of the transaction.
Yeah.
Okay. In a world where we can do that through a smart contract, it's going to take a few minutes, and it's going to cost a fraction of the cost. In the same way that we used to send mail, put a stamp, which was somehow expensive just to send what we consider now an email, and it would take days to get there. Today, it takes a few seconds, and it's marginally free. Or chat.
Chatbot in the end, you know.
So the last part, the last key element that I want to use to explain Web3 today is assets, digital assets, which literally represent of anything of value, literally anything. So we can divide those assets in few categories. We have what we call the cryptocurrencies, which are literally the token that we use for a specific blockchain. Okay, so cryptocurrency is the native token of the blockchain. Then we have, I would say, the currencies. Right now, a lot of people are talking about CBDC, central bank digital token, which are basically digital versions of existing money, like
Fiat money.
Fiat money. So like one USDT or one USDC or one USD, whatever, is worth exactly $1. Until
So it's stable coin, basically.
this is
You
a
can say.
stable coin, exactly. Then on top of those, we have the governance token. The governance token are usually issued by the smart contract or the people who are running a smart contract, and basically it gives you right on or voting right and decisions on the functionality and maybe the cost and the parameters of each of those contract and functionality that we operate on the blockchain. Now the last one, and this is one we're going to talk a lot about at the end of this talk, is the digital token for real life asset. Okay, it can be your work, it can be your house, it can be your identity, it can be the pictures you post, it can be anything. It is value.
Yeah.
Okay, everything that is of value can now be digitalized and tokenized. Now, I say it can, but one thing that we are lacking, the most important thing that we are lacking at the moment is a regulatory framework. It's crucial.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was compliance.
yes,
Right?
compliance. Can we get the next slide, my friend? Do you have questions about the approach on Web3? Now, I know nearly all of you here in the room, and I know that you already,
I have some thought about compliance,
Please.
basically.
Oh, okay. So give me 1 second. We move on to the next slide.
Good.
So risk and opportunities, I would say, and the challenges that come with that perspective on the Web3. Can we get the next slide?
Perfect. So, right? So, especially in this kind of hype, so everybody, talk about NFTs, token, and they want to tokenize their business or, make an NFT of the art and stuff. But I see the problem or the challenge that they are not seeing basically the regulatory framework or compliance where when they make money out of it, right? So if they have their own governance or their own economy, or ecosystem, then they have their own token.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, they want to withdraw the token and then, like want to buy milk with that. So you cannot really buy with token, right? So you need to interact with the real fiat system.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that people miss from this hype. Everybody want to have that, and it's easy nowadays to make a token, right? So it's even we have some friend of project that you can make like in 4 clicks or something. You can make your own token, but then they don't see the regulatory framework where they say like, look, where does it come from? Like from out of thin air, you can claim it and then withdraw the money.
Yeah.
So I think from my perspective, like a lot of token or NFTs will die because they will be eaten by the compliance or regulatory framework. There's like, where does it come from? Like you can use with your own community or ecosystem, but then what? So you cannot just change it into our money, I think that's the problem and the challenge that people
Well,
not seeing it coming.
I think that you are addressing 2 problems at the same time.
Yeah.
The first one is basically this is a sandbox, and we're all, for the people who are active in this community, we're all playing in it. I'm going to use DeFi as an example. Okay, DeFi was a hype, or it is somewhere on the hype curve that we're going to look at. And basically DeFi is literally competing with the banking system.
Yeah.
Okay,
100%.
you can lend money, you can borrow money, you can get insurance and all that. And the thing is,
And you create money out of nothing.
and so this is the thing is like in DeFi, what happened is that people used so in DeFi, there are literally two things. There are people who develop technology and services that are doing what banks are doing, but with less friction, cheaper, faster, probably more secure, not always. We'll get back to that later. Okay, so they remove friction to the service and they are literally competing with it. I mean, right now, if you want to move money, say dollars from A to B, from let's say France to Indonesia, it might be cheaper for me to use Web3 services through DeFi to do it and get euro in one hand and get Indonesian rupiah on the other hand.
Yeah.
However, like any new tech or service that is potentially disruptive, people are going to toy with it. This is what we do as humans. You know, oh, fuck, I get a new toy. What can I do with it? And you try to do as many, and in fact, you try to break it. And what happened in our ecosystem is that people created tokens in 4 steps. And then they tried to use DeFi. They didn't try. They literally used the DeFi services to operate their token, which is literally some sort of California hotel in which you can get in but never get out, and people get screwed. Where we get the bad publicity. You know, it's a Ponzi scheme. People lose all their money and all that.
Yeah.
True. But fundamentally, DeFi on the DeFi has literally created a competing ecosystem to the traditional bank system. And my bet is that on the long run, it's going to win. Now, DeFi is probably going to become CDFI.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Like, it will be centralized, decentralized,
Yes.
like
So
finance system,
what-
because the system itself is very robust.
yes.
Actually,
So what
you know?
we have is that we have a new piece of technology, DeFi. Everybody got excited about it. And we reached the limit and people got abused the system, went too far, created fake token, Ponzi, whatever. Entire part of the ecosystem got burned down. I'm thinking about Celsius, for instance, bad publicity and all that. But this is part of the system gaining in maturity. And at some point, there's going to be a convergence between the DeFi approach and the disruption and the banking system, which is much slower because they're already operating for a long time. And at some point, they're going to look at it and they're going to be like, that's smart. We can even make more money. Okay, so one thing that may happen, and I am not making any forecast, is centralized, decentralized finance. That would be one of the potential evolution of the DeFi we've seen in the last 2 or 3 years.
I'm curious actually to ask the people here because I know they're
Yeah,
already
please.
expert. Like, what do you guys think about the regulatory framework on compliance
not even
and
there.
DeFi and stuff that is coming right now? So I'm happy to.
I'm a little bit confused if you're talking about.
Sorry, can you use the mic, please?
So I'm confused about. You spoke initially about identity.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that was one example.
Now you're talking about DeFi, which is more to do with financial.
Yes, which is another example.
When you say regulatory oversight, what are you talking about? So what are you talking about? Regulatory oversight of identity management or regulatory oversight of DeFi? Where are you going with this talk?
Okay, so as I was saying that in Ghazian example, I thought he was bringing 2 different aspects of the regulatory framework so I addressed the first one. The second one, which is the one I put here on the slide, is right now, the real world, the banking system, or say the notaries, they don't recognize what we are doing. And the thing is, we can see right now that there are plenty of institutional players who have very large amount of money and they are literally waiting on the sideline to get in because they see that all those pieces of technology that we are developing, they are getting mature. So they see the potential opportunity and the removing of friction, but there is no regulation at government level. That's the thing. It's like FATFA, for instance, the financial regulation at UN level against terrorism and anti-laundering, money laundering activities. Literally, FATFA is a framework, a regulatory framework for the banking system that is going to be enforced and applied by every bank in the world so they can communicate between them and make sure that digital assets are properly regulated. Now, by assets, it can be anything. So the bank is going to look at the money, at the stable coin. They want to make sure that we don't have another USD, I don't know which one that, the UST, okay? So they don't, we and they don't want that. So that's true for the banking system. Now, if you are into real estate, you know, tokenizing real estate is something that, at least in this in the blockchain community, everybody's talking about it. But there's not a single notary in the world today who will be like, yeah, sure, I'm going to operate with that, because the framework, the regulatory framework is not there. And that is a sign, you know, when we play with a lot of new tools and there's a lot of money from institutional players waiting on the sideline, and there's pressure coming from both ways to get the regulation. And the thing is, regulation is not just for them to put a lot of money. It's also because if we want adoption, as in, I mean, I have a few crypto in my portfolio, but the vast majority of my family and my friends, or say the friends from a previous part of my life, they don't. In fact, right now, the feedback I have is, oh, the crypto market is down, isn't it? And I'm smiling back at them, and I'm like, you don't understand, do you? And this is another thing we're going to talk about, is how at some point, one cohort of people like us, innovator, early bird, people who get in early, get a larger cohort of people to adopt it. But that can only happen at the second condition, which is the user experience. If you listen to Sim talking here, or if you're part of the group on Telegram or WhatsApp where we exchange a lot, every time he sees the word MetaMask, he's like, don't touch MetaMask. If you're a beginner, don't touch MetaMask. Who here has a MetaMask wallet?
You're advanced.
You don't have one? I'm surprised. Okay. So let's say the vast majority of the people in this room have a MetaMask. Now, MetaMask is nothing but easy.
Yeah.
Okay? It's super complex. You can fuck it up. You need to be educated. You need to pay attention on which chain and the gas fee and...
Well, that is one of the reasons why people are not really touching crypto yet, right? So interacting with crypto yet, because it's just so complicated that people get fucked over very easily. You know, it's not 1, 2, 3, you know, clicks and then you get in. So it's like still hard.
Yes.
I mean, if I see, you know, like even my parents or my granduncles and stuff, they are having a trouble to access some apps, you know, so to make a proper picture, you know. So now they like we tried them, and especially the other one that have money, obviously more money than us, than my generation. Then it's like to tell them to get in this space and using MetaMask, they're gonna, you know, have so much stress, right? I think, yeah, user experience, like easiness, the easiness of
So for the CeFi DeFi stuff, JP Morgan are already trialing out DeFi.
Yeah.
They're already running it right now. They're
Yeah.
already doing tests. It's already come out of the beta. It's already running.
Yeah, all the bank in the world, I mean, maybe not all, but they are all looking at it.
Yeah,
and
and
they are
also-
all toying with it. There's no question about that.
And also talking about all the KYC stuff that you're talking
Yes.
about as well. So
Yes.
they're slowly implementing that. And also with Meta, with the Instagram NFT for the user experience and for the easiness. It's
Yeah.
also coming
Yeah.
into play now too. So,
So-
it's switching from that MetaMask to being more simple now.
Yeah, but what, like after the implementation of crypto, like 12 years, you know, like after, so then they are like being, oh, okay, now,
Yeah.
you know, everybody is jumping in and many people is trusting, many people are using, okay, maybe we need to jump.
But this
So-
is a really fast adoption, in my opinion.
Of course.
If you look at internet, I mean, internet was
getting faster, yeah.
started in the early 90s, and sending an email back in 95, you literally needed a computer degree to do it. Okay, now my father can send an email. Okay, he's 80, but my father doesn't have a MetaMask. Okay, and he's not gonna get one, or the day he's gonna have a crypto wallet, it's gonna be something that is gonna become seamless. And this is part of the adoption curve. We
Yep.
need the user interface to become easy, simple, transparent. Okay, so that's one of the challenges that we see in front of us. And the third one is how the underlying technology is not mature yet, in the sense that if you're following crypto news, every week there is a breach, there is a hack, there is a problem, there is something happening. Oh my God, you know. But again, this is part of the process. Okay, we need to go through that until we have something stable, and we can see new blockchain, layer 1, new layer 2 services every week, and they're competing with each other. And this is one of the beauty of this ecosystem, is that most of it is open, it's public. It's not that you can see the code, it's that you can see the code while it runs. Okay, so I can literally take the code of the Ethereum blockchain and build my Cyril blockchain or my Snail blockchain using the same code, tweaking a couple of things. And if I am smarter, if I am better, I mean, basically this is survival of the fittest on steroid going on. Okay, so we have, the technology is evolving fast, but we need it to evolve even more to get to a point of maturity where the world, like everybody, big players, institutions, big companies, my grandma, will be able to adopt with a better user interface, and most importantly, that regulatory framework. Because right now, find me a smart contract that is legally enforceable somewhere. That kind of doesn't exist yet. You can enforce your smart contract in your small crypto sphere with your friend and your Ponzi and whatever, but in real
one
life,
of our project is already
yeah,
doing it.
but in real life at the moment, well, indeed, there is at least one,
Yeah.
but there are not that many functionality that are emerging from the Web3 that are enforceable and trusted in the real world. And this is the bridge that we need to make
Yeah.
for Web3 to fully develop its disruptive potential into the real world.
I think to summarize, I will like, there's 4 words that just keep coming,
Yeah.
but it's actually there, you know, it's like we need right now for the risk and all the stuff is, we need to be, it needs to be easy, simple, instant, and secure.
Yep.
So it's like what Toko Crypto does. I think if it feels or like it's checklist that requirement, then
Yeah,
We are
that's
mature enough.
that's
That's
what's
the
going to
hype.
make it adopted by a large number of people. Vlad,
Yeah.
can we get the next one, and then can you jump already on? I mean, we already addressed that, the potential disruption that Web3 as I presented it. It's just one angle that I offered today to look at Web3, but this is where the disruption can come across. And in fact, this is the entire world, okay? Because if you can affect the assets, you know, and digitalize them and fractionalize them, if you can affect the infrastructure, because all those, I mean, there are so many different things that are running right now on Web2, on the centralized Web2, that are going to become obsolete within a few years, but also the services, okay? Everything that we look at the moment as a service that is operated on Web2 or Web1 or operated in real life is going to be profoundly changed and affected by Web3. So can we have the next one? So now that we have a common ground in plain English of what Web3 can bring or will bring to the world, as we already said a couple of times, you know, there's those NFTs. We bought them for $150 and then they were worth $2,000 and now they are worth 50 cents. Celsius, DeFi, it was there, it's not there anymore.
Play to earn.
Play to earn was a Ponzi scheme. How does that fit into a very simple approach? The hype curve. So hype curve comes from a company called Gartner, and they designed that like some 20 years ago. And I put it here. All models are wrong, but they're all useful. So it's not about how the hype curve is going to tell you everything and you can see the future, because that would be too easy. But it gives you a perspective and it can help you. This is very important. It can help you make a decision when you choose to enter a position or a market or a technology as an investor. It can help you to decide and to identify where you are potentially on the hype curve. Can we have the next one?
So I think we agree that everything in the world is still, even though we are talking about blockchain and technology, but it always connected with people, right? With humans. And I'm super stoked about humans because they are funny sometimes. They have emotions and feelings, right? So that's what caused actually hype. I mean, where does hype come from and what is hype? Literally, hype comes, I was looking like, where does hype come from? It's from hyperbolic. You know, it's like when there is something like, like some instance or person that's create an extravagant promotion or advertisement that makes other people excited, but in the way also that it's not real sometimes. It can be real, but it's like they're claiming.
Yeah.
It's also very deceptive, you know? That's what hype is. And I'm thinking like, why are those people really creating this hype? It's like an intended excitement, you know? They are creating it. So humans, again, playing with humans behavior, with human psychology. And it's like, okay, why do they control it? Like, why do they playing with that game? I mean, there are certain people that obviously has a lot of money, like a market maker, you know, that controls everything. They control the cycle and even control the human beings. That's why I'm super, I'm always saying to people, like I always say people everywhere if I do talk or panel, and like, it doesn't matter how hype the technology is. If you understand your own technology, you are not being controlled. You're not easily being controlled. So if you can control yourself, because literally, so the natural human being is, we like to feel really good or really bad.
So are you
in the
thinking
middle,
it's about controlling those emotions?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So it's like, if you see this hype cycle, which is he will do a little bit more detailed and more complicated, but I like to see like emojis. You know, I like to see the emotions behind.
Between
right?
that slide and the next one,
you will see the difference.
You will see the difference between our minds.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Because how hype is being presented is like it creates emotional mass, right? It creates basically gossips,
Yeah.
it spread gossips, it spread like, and also using a media mass or influential people, like celebrities, like Elon Musk and stuff. So it creates hype, such a hype, right? But before it touched that, like the technology of blockchain or
NFT,
Bitcoin and
DeFi,
stuff,
yeah.
I'm not coming from the tech. So that's why the interest there is like from nerd and geeks. They are the people that are like, reading the white paper already like 2010, and like it was not even touching me because I was not involved in this kind of technology, adoption. So it's like the emotion is like more interest, like people that intelligent enough to see that rising hype or technology. So, and then when it comes to that chart where it comes to excitement and it comes to like a sense of wealth, everybody making money, so this exuberant, and they create such a peak, of hype. It's gonna be excitement, everybody making money, and then like, oh, that would be nice if I'm jump in. Then, to be honest, this is where I was jumping in, like 2000 in the end of 2018. So I am not early adopter at all. I am not in the technology part, basically. So then, it's, as we see also, in different kind of level or different kind of aspects in blockchain, when you are in blockchain or crypto market, then there is, at some point, it will crash a little bit. And then it creates disappointment. I remember the time where I was super involved with Axie Infinity, because I'm a gamer. So that's where it catch me, basically, more like learning more about the space. So I bought, like I was in one of the biggest guild, and we're taking care of a lot of scholars and people, and a lot of money made. We made a lot of money, Axie Infinity. In fact, the use case of decentralized apps is being used way much more in gaming.
Yeah.
In NFT gaming, in Axie Infinity. So then people are understanding the hype, but then they're not understanding the psychological behind, like the control, the mass control. So then when the market goes down and when the supply demand doesn't really looks good, and obviously the tokenomics not really fitting the game, then disappointment came. I remember.
So that's a fundamental flaw in technology.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. The fundamental flaw in technology, in any technology.
No, not on the technology itself, but how the technology is being used.
Being applied, being used, exactly. So, and then when it comes to, like the market is doing the marketing, like they're being tested, basically. And yeah, and then like one NFT we bought like $2,700, and then it goes down and down and down with a lot of aspects through a lot of aspects, like rug pull, Ponzi schemes, or they just want to make money and there's no certain use case. Like if there is no people that are playing, there is no people that are injecting money, then it's coming down. So a lot of disappointment coming there, right? So like anger and like depressed, and it's like it creates this illusionment where it's like, okay, this is actually shit, it was just a hype. And then we realized, oh, it was just a hype. It's like depressed, a lot of money. We lost a lot of money, and
I see the
we don't
smile.
use it. Right? So I think we went through this, obviously, right? So then, after it's being tested, and then basically projects or technology that has a real value, that actually solving a lot of problems in the society, it raised again. Like there is a rise again of hope. Like, wow, But these people are already broken and they don't want to jump in anymore. And look at the Amazon, last time in the bubble.com, like 97%, and it wiped a lot of people. Okay, I take out the money, it will not going to, they won't make it anymore. So from hope, this comes like, because from this curve, it's not making a lot of money anymore. It comes to boredom. It's like, it's not like really cool anymore. I don't make really a lot of money. Not many people are really talking about it, but actually, it has settled down for the technology.
And the reason why people don't talk about it, it's because it is everywhere.
Exactly,
It is
because
being
it's being
used.
normal.
Yeah.
It's normal.
So, okay, who remember Segway? You remember Segways? The thing, you can jump on it, and not jump, you would sit on it and you have to...
I will jump on it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, sure, you would, and you have those two wheels, and depending on, yeah, I see the smiles, okay? That was 2001. I went 3 times on a Segway, I fell. 3 times.
No doubt.
And so in 2001, when Segway started to be deployed and being sold by one company, it was perceived by a lot of people as a disruptive tool for transportation, and it would change completely the world and the cities and how we move from A to B. That's how it was being sold. Segway, on their first year, anticipated to sell 100,000 units of their thing. Okay. When they shut down the Segway in 2020, 20 years later, they sold a total 150,000 units. So they literally sold in 20 years just a little bit over the expectation for year 1. Okay? For 2 years, when I say we, I mean the world, the media, everybody was like, this thing is going to revolutionize the world. We were here. But then reality catch up. I fell 3 times. And I promised myself I would never stand on one of those things again. Okay? That was reality check for me, but for plenty of other people. I was kind of disappointed by the product. So they stopped selling the Segway in 2020. Now the Segway company in 2021, they sold 500,000 scooters using their technology.
But using
And
their
that
technology.
And the thing is, nobody talks about that. Because selling 500,000 scooters, I mean, the thing with 2 wheels and a handle and it's electric, but all the technology, the gyroscope and the guidance and brake and all that, all the things that they refined with that initial piece of technology that was somewhere here, they brought it here. Can I have the next one? So in fact, hype cycle is a component of 2 things. There is
2 or 3?
2.
2.
So there is the hype level. This is the psychological part of it. Okay? There are innovators. There are people who are like, oh my God, this is exciting. And then you have the early adopters, and then it moves up and everybody talks about it and it goes too high. But this is the sandbox. This is the moment where we're trying plenty of things. And like DeFi, for instance, we hit wall. Like me falling from the Segway, we have a reality check. The reality catches up. But at the same time, we have the business maturity and the technology maturity. DeFi fundamentally, like this is where I disagree with Sim. Sim is like, DeFi, no, but because he's looking at the experimental part of DeFi. But I'm looking at DeFi as a very smart way of doing better, cheaper, with less friction, something that is being done and generating a lot of money in the real world. And I hope that at some point, DeFi is going to do this. And then when you combine those 2 curves, you get the hype cycle, which is that wave that goes up and down. Can I have the next one? So this is how I remove the emojis.
Remove the feeling.
And so here, okay, I like this curve because it gives you...
Can you guys see?
Put your glasses on. Okay, so the... Sorry? Okay, good for you. Good for. Okay, fantastic. So here, basically, we have some marker, some identifier of where we are on the hype cycle. Okay, I mean, I'll let you read them, but basically, one that I like a lot is when we are somewhere here, we usually have one player in the industry. Okay, but we have at least one player. Okay, the big difference between we are not even on the hype curve and we are on the hype curve is that you can buy the product, you can buy the service. You don't get it from a lab as something you can test. Okay, they have something that is supposed to be a product. And it is disruptive enough, it comes with enough innovation so that people start to talk about it. So early adopters and media are start to talk about it. Okay, now by that time, we have a lot of copycat. But by the time you have 20 different DeFi platform or 50 different DeFi platform on the market, don't get in because you're already up there. You have a proliferation of supplier. Everybody wants to do the same thing. Okay? Then we went too far. Maybe because it was too complicated. Maybe because we pushed the technology into boundaries. Or maybe because there are ill-intended people who saw the opportunity to make money. And in the case of DeFi or play to earn, build Ponzi scheme on top of it. Or in the case of Segway, yeah, it works, but everybody falls. So we get disappointed. And when you start to see negative media, you know, it is too late. We are already going down. Okay? And this is the moment where we are going to have failure report. Okay? And this is, we hear this about DeFi a lot. I mean, Celsius is the perfect example. I mean, it's pure DeFi, and the thing got crushed, and USC or well, I forgot their name, but
UST.
you know, like UST, like, okay, all gone. And then it's very easy, you know. Luna. I mean, we know people who lost a lot of money with Luna. Everybody knows. I mean, at least in this room, everybody knows somebody who lost money with Luna. I can see that. Mm-hmm. Yep. So bad publicity and all that. But the thing is, fundamentally, Luna and their stablecoin, the notion of stablecoin in itself is not bad. Okay? And it's good somehow. I mean, not to lose money on Luna, but it's good that we have that kind of event where we prove the limit of the model, where, for instance, algorithmic stablecoin, we're like, maybe it doesn't work. So the bank, the institutions can look at that, can look at the sandbox and be like, interesting, but we need to pay attention to that. Because when they're going to move in, they're going to move in with trillions. Okay? And then when we are here, we have the second generation of product, the third generation of product. I promise you, DeFi will be back. Okay? And then we have the best practices that are being developed. This is where we go back to the regulatory framework. Okay, DeFi, yeah, but maybe we need, you know, legal framework. Maybe we need laws. And right now, this is a lawless environment, Web3, most of it. And then we stop talking about it because it's there, because it's everywhere. Because in fact, you may use your bank, traditional bank, and you don't even know that you are using a DeFi service through them. That's an example. I'm not saying it is happening, but it becomes normal. But more important than normal, it becomes invisible.
Yeah, I think just to add also that the culture changes, you know, and the use case, the usefulness becomes very clear.
Yeah.
So I think everything just needs time, persistence, and innovation, especially when it comes to the technology that opens up opportunities. In this area, there will be, that's the task basically, and then
Yeah.
that's when the people and when the technologies become here anymore, like here, then they are not really, you know, like it's not that hype anymore, like
Well,
because
who,
everybody is really using that.
when was the last time you saw an article that said how fantastic emails are? 25 years ago. Okay, there's no point talking about email because email is everywhere.
Yeah.
And for instance, Segway, yes, there were articles 2 years ago to say, they're closing. But then the company is still selling 500,000 units of something else using the same technology just last year. And they're on par in 2022 to do better than that. But nobody talks about that. Segway is literally there, even though their product, the product we know the brand for, died, literally. And that's the thing, is like in that process, on that downward slope here, 90% of the project are going to die. The Celsius and the Luna and the UST and more. I don't know, this morning I got messages about, I don't know, FTX or FTT or stuff like that. I didn't even look at it because it's like, one more. I'm okay with it. So you have to be ready for that. It is very important because a lot of the projects that are on the Web3, a lot of the things that we're talking about because they're somewhere here or maybe here already, they are gonna die. So
Like us?
yes, like us. But then if you look at it as an investor perspective, or just somebody, you know, let's say investor perspective, when do you get in? When would you like to get in here? You know, definitively not up there. You want to get in here and exit there, or you want to get in here and exit there. And in fact, this is a risk profile. If you're an aggressive investor, you want to be here. If you're a moderately aggressive investor, you want to get in here. And if you're very conservative, you're going to wait a few more years for the product to be mainstream, and you're going to enjoy this endless plateau of maturity. Can we get the next one, Vlad? Okay, so this is not me. This is Gartner. Gartner are the one who created this hype cycle. Now, I like that. It's very interesting because basically what they do is that they keep the same shape of the wave and they place, and here it's specifically for all the Web3 thingy that we've been talking about for years here.
It's 2020.
So that one was produced in July 2022. So it's the freshest one they have. You can look up, they have one per year. So if you, basically what they do is that they place every element of technology on the wave. And again, models by definition are wrong. Okay, so don't trust that as, okay, this is my map, this is my guide, I know exactly where I go just because I looked at that graph. But it gives you an ID and a perfume. Okay, so, you know, cryptocurrencies, wallet, smart contracts, CDFI, you know, they're all here, or some of them. And then they come with a color, which is an estimate for how long it's going to take for that technology to reach the plateau. Okay, this is very interesting. So you can see that cryptocurrencies, for instance, the notion of blockchain, Bitcoin. Okay, right now there are like 300 million-ish, I think, wallet on the Bitcoin address, or maybe not wallet, but different users. I don't remember exactly. Roughly 5% of the worldwide population owns Bitcoin or has a wallet, a non-zero Bitcoin wallet. So that's 5% of the population. We are just leaving the early stage. Okay, so that plateau here, you know, this is where you go from 1, 2, 3, 5% adoption all the way to 80, 90, 95. And we'll get back to the adoption cycle in a few minutes. So DeFi, Gartner choose to place it here, right in the middle of the, oh my God, it doesn't work. But I hope that what we just said before, we can agree on the fact that the tools that were developed by DeFi, even though it was to move shitty coin and meme, you know.
The last year was hype.
But the
last
thing
year
is,
was
the
everybody
tech,
was talking about
the
DeFi.
tech is good. And that's why we have CDFI on the back. Because basically that is the bank who are already toying with it, waiting for the framework regulation, or for the regulation and the laws and, you know, to catch up. So depending on what you're doing, what you're interested into, NFTs, gaming, Web2, there are things I don't even know what they are. Okay, like right now we have a lot of discussion about DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, and I hear mostly from the people I'm surrounded with, DAO doesn't work because it just brings the stupidity of humanity into the light. And I agree that right now, the way DAO have been implemented at the sandbox level, they do that. People were super excited about DAO, and now we realize that, it doesn't work. Give it a bit of time. I bet that in 10 years from now, DAO will mature and be somewhere here, and we will use them all over the place. I'm pretty sure that we will vote for presidents or senators or whatever using DAO at some point in time. Do you have questions about that? Good. Do you?
Oh, it's pretty clear. So, like, if I see myself, you know, around what I've been doing in NFT and metaverse space, especially in the gaming space, you know, like we are still in the peak, right? So last year, you know, the gaming space was so hype. Everybody was jumping in and stuff. Like everybody, if I talk about NFT or gaming space in crypto, then they will talk about Axie Infinity and then how good it is. And then now it's slowed down. They're coming to a disillusionment, like depressed. It's already, you know, it's like especially in gaming space.
Yeah.
So, but I'm very, very sure it will mature in 5-10 years for sure. Because the way, especially my generation below me, the way they interact with the world is through gaming. They need to have this fast play, like just interactive things, you know, like the frontal, experiential, educational space is outdated. They cannot digest it anymore. So I think the gamification or the NFT gaming space will turn into a real world implementation where they can basically touch everything what they are playing afterwards, you know, like they invest while they're playing game, they farm while they're playing games. That's the thing that we're gonna jump later on, like the implementation. What I can see in the next 5-10 years will be mature, for sure.
Okay, before closing that, Vlad, can you give me the one before? Okay, so, and let's try to keep in mind the emoji initially. One thing that we tend to say often when we talk about macroeconomic and how the market goes is that if everybody talks about it, get the fuck out. Okay? When YouTube is filled with to the moon, Bitcoin is gonna be the 100K and where's my Lambo and all that, when everybody is talking about it, we are here. We have the hype, we are at the top of it. And this is a very fundamental and very simple way of approaching how you get in and out of a market as an investor. Okay? When everybody tells you to buy, when everybody tells you this is the next thing, when your grandma calls you and say, how can she buy Bitcoin? Sell, sell,
That's a cool
sell,
grandma.
get out.
That's a cool grandma.
That's a good grandma, okay? When everybody is telling you this is dead, this is the winter, it will never recover, you have bad publicity all over the place, in my opinion, this is a good moment to get in. Okay?
Question is get into what?
Here. Well, right now,
Which technology, which coins, which tokens, which
yeah,
value
yeah, yeah. But
model.
right now, like, so, you know, NFT gaming. NFT gaming right now is going through a massive batch of publicity. A year ago, it was, oh my God, we're feeding hundreds of millions of families with gaming. So I would say that in the next year, looking at NFT, keeping NFT gaming on your radar and see what big big players like Nintendo, Electronic Arts, those big guys, when they start to say, we're getting in, you're here. Okay, that's how I would apply that curve for NFT gaming. If we're talking about DeFi,
NFT gaming was there. I mean, the NFT gaming is here actually.
it's
right
somewhere
now.
here. Yes,
Yeah.
it's somewhere here. DeFi, it's somewhere here.
But
Now,
Metaverse is following here in the early adopters.
yes. So, oh, he's gone. Can we get the next slide? So you can pick,
Just scroll it to the right.
pick your drug,
Scroll to the right.
and then
The cursor.
look at those signals, how the media are talking about it, how the big players are talking about it, how the institutions are looking at it. Is there a regulatory framework? Is there best practices that are emerging? And that will give you roughly where we are. And as you said, Metaverse is right here. And it's a yellow triangle that says 10 years before we get to the plateau.
It will be hype. So
And the
it's
thing
coming
is,
to that.
yes. And right now, what we have is we have we start to get there. Everybody is talking about metaverse. Nobody can give a definition of what metaverse is. Okay, people are like, oh yeah, it's Oculus.
Real life
But no.
applicable metaverse.
Yes, but the thing is, Oculus is just an interface that allow you to. But like technically, Web 2 is already a form of metaverse. So it's
We are adopting.
yeah.
It's innovation.
Next
Let-
one. So another thing, and this is just gonna take a couple of minutes. I want to talk about the adoption curve. So usually I talk about the adoption curve as an S shape. Okay. Nobody is using it, and then at some point the thing is picking up. So it can be Facebook, it can be a cell phone, it can be smartphone, it can be whatever. And then we have the hype. We have like the hyperbolic curve, and we trend towards 100%, and then we pass the 80, 85, 90% of adoption. Then it slows down because there are people who will never use the technology. Can I have the next one? So that's the adoption curve, but not in an S shape, in a bell shape, where you have the innovators. So the people who see the thing before it happened.
Satoshi
Usually,
Nakamoto.
sorry?
Basically Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah, well, I would say, okay, so what defines innovators is that usually, yes, they are well educated, but they're also wealthy. Because usually that costs a shitload of money. A cell phone back in the 80 whatever cost like $5,000 or $10,000, which is literally a lot of money today. Okay, and they were coming in a big box, but you need them. You need them to adopt. You need them to test. Okay, then it's gonna easily go to the early adopters The early adopters are still very tech friendly. They are, I mean, when we talk about tech, they're educated in whatever we're talking about, but they have a little bit less money. But it works because the price of the product is going down. This is, having like the very first iPhone when it went there. It was like having a beta account on Google or whatever. And I believe that when it comes to Web3, this is where we are. We are somewhere between the innovator and the visionary. Everybody who's in this room is at least a visionary.
You know what's a funny fact about the iPhone? When Steve Jobs released iPhone 1, right, released that, and he has already iPhone 6 in his pocket. So iPhone 6 is being implemented.
Are you sure about that?
That's the guy that's told me this about the tech.
Fact checked.
Fact checked. But
I call fact checked.
I think the most important part that you said is about like that, like in the tech industry, especially when it comes from the early adopters and innovators. So back then we cannot really see what is coming up next, because the amount of technology or information that's being transact or being exchanged, it's not fast enough. Right now, with fast internet and blockchain and stuff, everybody can actually have a little part of it. Even in what I like in the cryptocurrency or tokenization world or these blockchains, like it's a fair access. It's not only a, it's still like, of course, in the early adopter, but it's fractionalized through the tokenization.
Okay, so
it's fractionalized the amount of money they can like jump in or investing in the early tech.
Yes,
So-
I hear you. As in, financially speaking, getting into Web3 services and interacting with
It's easier.
No, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
cheap.
It's cheaper. Yeah.
It's cheap, but it's not
Easy,
easy.
it's not,
In
yeah.
fact, this is moving from the visionary to the early majority. That's going to translate into the late majority, and then we have the lagger. We have my grandma who's like, no, I don't want to have a cell phone. But there is a crucial point, and the people who are working on the adoption curve, they call it the chasm. So basically, every cohort, the innovator that are gonna somehow spread the word to the visionaries, and then the visionaries to the early majority, and then the early majority, and so on. It's spreading, okay? And that's where you have this. But basically, on that S curve, that moment where the thing goes from 10% of the population not worldwide population, of the expected target. Okay, when that takeoff is very complex to achieve, they call it the chasm. This is the moment where your product or let's say your product is going from a relatively small network, a few models, not, and you're talking to educated people who are willing to get their hand dirty because, it doesn't work, but I found a patch and I upload the thing and now it works, and so on. But then going into the early majority is talking with your neighbor, and your neighbor is not as educated or let's say digitally educated as you are, and they don't have the same amount of money, or they are not willing to invest $2,000. I mean, I remember my second phone. When I bought my second phone, it was a dual SIM phone back in '97. No, sorry, it was not dual SIM. It was multiple network. So this is one of the phones that I could use in the US, because at that time, the network at different frequencies, I paid a shitload of money compared to what it does today. But basically, I was somewhere here. So the chasm here is, in terms of social dynamic, how we turn something that is somehow specialized and high-tech into, it's not high-tech anymore. It's being used by so many people that it's easy. And Web3 is clearly not there. Can we get the next one? now we put the two curves together. And there is, now that we talked about the two curve, it makes complete sense that when the technology is literally proven wrong, this is the moment where we roll the dice, or let's say there's a massive reality check. Because the early adopters, they have the will to go through the hurdle. They are okay to use an interface that is not seamless. They are okay to use MetaMask, for instance. Okay? But if we want Web3 and its disruption to affect the world, we need to go through the chasm. And the chasm is the regulatory framework we were talking about. It is making sure that the underlying technology that we're using is getting stronger because there are still massive security concerns in this space. And we want to make sure that the tools we are using are amazingly easy and seamless. Now, the thing is, when we are here, you know, on the hype curve, they put it flat. So you're like, oh, it means that it's going nowhere. But in fact, we are talking about maybe 60, 70% of adoption on the intended target. So it is flat. Nobody talks about it anymore. But wow, everybody's buying it.
But we love flat.
But we love flat. We love. Did I miss something? Do you have questions about those? That's it. Now we can move on to the next one. And that's yours. Mostly.
Yeah.
What's the next wave? Metaverse? Metaverse.
What do you think? I would love to know,
Yeah.
just your opinion. What do you think, guys? What is the next wave? From like the things that you saw, from, you know.
Like, can we identify
In your opinion, what is the next wave?
the next hype?
The next hype. Yeah, the next hype.
Yeah. What's the next hype?
Wave. Hype wave. Yeah.
Metaverse?
Is a metaverse?
Yeah.
Okay. Metaverse and DeFi. Okay, we have two metaverse. Two vote for metaverse. Ethereum 2.0 is like the implementation of the layer 2.
Yeah. The original vision and sufficient it's
Okay, the original vision of Ethereum being implemented, the easiness and the real use case or the usefulness. Mano, do you have any prediction? Let's say prediction, a projection, in your opinion. What would you say? Yeah. Sure.
class people get touched people and Web3.
So the bridge of, you know, real world.
Banks.
No
Okay.
banks.
No
Yeah.
bank.
Between people and work to Web3 directly.
So the bridge of those two worlds, basically, the real world and crypto. What about you? What's your name, sorry? Irina? What? Oh, you don't know, like, do you have an idea? Okay.
I mean,
perfect. I mean, what do you think?
good morning.
What is it? ENS.
I don't
Can
even
you-
know what
can,
that
can,
is.
Can you explain in a small, simple?
Oh,
ENS stands for Ethernet Name Services. So you buy your name, .eth or .crypto or something like that. So 6 months ago, the first wave of ENS domain went ham. because everyone was buying 4 digits that it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 that it, 5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8. So a lot of people start accumulating those names, that Ethereum, because they know all the Web3 projects that are being built now, they will
Or
need a
dot
name.
ETH, Ethereum.
That it. Okay. So, and what's happening now is Web3 messaging system. So it's already existing. I can just use one app protocol. I put your wallet address, your MetaMask wallet address, and I can send you direct message to your wallet. So we communicate now on Web3, on chain, direct messaging. But
Through
why people?
wallets.
So why people are buying those numbers, 4-digit numbers, 5-digit numbers? Because the same people who are building direct messaging, they are working on calls through wallets. So now the same address will be the address of my company, my website, my number, and my calling number. So you can call me on Web3, message me on Web3, and send me money on Web3, and pay me on Web3, and visit my website. So when people will need it, let's say when they realize that they will all need like a domain name like .com, but with more power, because I can call that number, everyone will go buy these things. So that's for me the next
That's
wave in
interesting.
1 year or something.
I think that's a topic, like a talk topic that we can really
Do you want to
raise.
talk next
You
week?
want to tell us?
Next week. I'm busy.
100%.
I'm busy. Sorry.
No, I think maybe next time, but because that's actually the Internet of Things, the IoT of Web3, isn't it? Yeah, so it's IoT, like where Web3, yeah, it's like, that's gonna be then the bridge of the usefulness of, Web3, right? Amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about it. All right. Cool. So, what is your opinion? What is the next hype? What is the next wave of
Well,
hype?
okay. So first, I'd like to reply on a couple of things. You just said IoT, and I think that IoT right now is we are doing it all wrong. We are connecting the wrong things, or at least we talk about the wrong things being connected. My kettle talks with my fridge. Thank you. Okay, but my kettle becomes a breach of security in my house because it needs to access the Wi-Fi, and in fact, it stole my password. So, but I truly believe that Internet of Things is needed for the future. Okay, we have already something like 15 billion objects that are connected. And I would say that half of them should not be connected, but we connect them because we're in the sandbox. And I would not be surprised if in the next year, people would critique IoT and say that we are implementing. So for instance, people are gonna say 5G was implemented because of IoT, and 5G is hurting people, and it's not needed, and it's using a lot of energy, and we need a lot of infrastructure to connect kettles together. But on long run, when we'll reach the plateau of maturity, that thing is going to be massive. So I keep it on my radar. I talked about DeFi, how right now everybody is saying how DeFi is not working, dysfunctioning, getting the wrong product. Give it a little bit of regulation, give it 2 years, and the thing is going to come back front and center, but we won't talk about it. It will not make the news anymore.
It's not DeFi anymore.
Now, my next thing is revisiting it's learn to earn. That's the next thing that I believe in. But again, because, okay, I did a talk about education last week, so I'm kind of hot on the topic, but one, I'm French, and I'm sorry for that, but I come from a country where
I'm sorry also.
education is marginally free. Okay, I never had to pay for my education, or let's say that the cost for me to spend 1 year at university was maybe €100, which in France is really not that much money. But I believe not only that education should be free, but I even think that people should get paid to be educated if they choose to educate themselves about something. We are developing a model. And right now, we're all the way there on the curve because we don't even have one project, one to sell. We don't even have one product. It's still in R&D, but if you're listening to this or if you are in this room, pay attention because I believe that learn to earn, as in gamified education, and you go through the game and you get those NFTs,
Rewards.
and you develop a characters and you get rewards,
Yeah.
and then with those rewards you can get access to whatever, you know, maybe money, probably money, is going to be a big thing. But that one, I don't even place it on the curve. It's somewhere there in the R&D. Come back in 6 months, we will have a project.
Yeah. Well, if we talk about the hype, I think the most hype thing that I feel is how can I implement this in the real value? How can I feed more people? How can I increase or improve the quality of life for the people? Myself, people that I'm working with, and everyone. That's why for me, the next hype is like real value backed token or NFTs. So that's the thing that that we're gonna jump in, because the most exciting thing for me, like I'm in the peak right now. You know, the most exciting for
He's
me.
so hyped about
I'm
it.
so hyped about it. The most exciting part of me being in that.
Okay, I didn't know you had a, okay.
It's a spontaneous.
Oh, I didn't know. That was the second presentation. Guys,
So,
we're here forever.
We are in the place where we can decide, being innovator, and we can build the world, right? Everything is falling apart, you know, and we can decide to just watch, or we can get involved to build new things, a new city, a new system, a new universe. So that's why, like, if the war's happening, then I am in the middle of the war, you know, like see how I can destroy something and then create the new things. So that's the opportunity that we have right now in the middle of this thing, right? So now we are getting involved, or we are creating a lot of opportunities. And one of the things that I'm super stoked and hyped is basically helping more farmers. Because if you see now in the world with the pandemic and lockdown and everything, the only important thing that they care about is food. We are coming back into our basic need, food, right? Commodities. But there is a statistic, I'm super sad to see that, you know, like now farmers are above 40 until 60 years old.
In Indonesia?
In Indonesia,
Okay.
but also around the world.
I
They
don't
can
know.
see it around the world because
Fact check.
fact check. In Indonesia, I can say in Indonesia, 40, 60. So in next 20 years, if nobody want to be a farmer or their children, so they're sending their children basically to Jakarta or to metropolitan city where they can see how they can make money, because now farming doesn't make a lot of money. So farmers doesn't get a lot of money because there is some bad player in between, the middleman, for example. So these projects it calls Five Harvesto. It's our project that we're getting involved from the grassroots itself. We know the farmers, we know the places and stuff. So it's like connected farmers with the local initiative and play to earn. So where you can basically buy an NFT, the use case on NFT, you buy an NFT and you get the farming productivity. So you're not buying basically the ownership of the land. They use it for raising the capital for the farmers, right?
We're talking about real land.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not talking about a land in the metaverse.
It
where you
will
buy
attach.
an NFT. Yeah, but what is very important is that when you buy an NFT, you can go on Google Map and see the piece
The location,
of
the
land
coordinates.
where they grow rice or mango or whatever. You can see it. It's attached to the NFT. You have the map.
It's not even see. You can even go there.
Well, yeah, you can
You
go
know,
there.
so you can go there, and then you have the possibility of, like, let's say you are buying an NFT, 1 hectare one NFT is 1 hectare of land of, let's say, melon, right? And the productivity of melon, let's say, for in 1 year is about 5 times, 6 times, and you can choose, like, you want to get the melon in your house shipped, or you sell it again, or we handle it basically for you. You know, we have the structure and then the association behind that is really connected with the farmers also. So this is a real implementation of NFT. You are not only buying an NFT of picture or something. There is no real value. It's only some supply and demand. And this, we give the farmers an opportunity. Here, you have the capital directly, so they are not attached to the middleman that pressing the price, because they are dependent on this middleman. This is amazing, you know. And we are connecting this with the other thing.
So if we're going back to the curve, what you're saying is that Fiverr is taking the NFT technology that has been so far, what we've heard about NFT is comic book JPEG images that were sold for crazy amount of money, you know, like kittens and whatever. And here we're talking about an adoption with a real case, and we're talking about something where the government is involved, so there is a regulatory framework.
Exactly.
We're talking about cooperatives of farmers, so it's not just one guy who's doing that. We're talking about, you know, Indonesia as a whole, who is starting to adopt this with regulations.
Correct.
Wow.
So that's the thing that I'm hype about. So now, the next level of this, we're not only taking care of the NFT part, we are taking care of, can you send it? So in Indonesia, if you sell, let's say, rice for rice here, they have their own price, right? The commodities market, they have own price here. So for example, 1 kilogram of rice is 4,500. So, but with farm sand, because every rails has a chain, right? And the problem is why also the farmer gets less money, because each chain or its distribution point is not transparent. So now we can use blockchain here through farm sand to attach the supply chain in the blockchain system. So it is transparent, one thing. But the best part is those guys are partnered with Middle East. So basically they need, like, Middle East has a lot of money, but they don't have a lot of foods. Guess what? We have a lot of foods and we need money, but the farmers need money. So then instead of selling here 1 kilogram of rice, 4,500 only, we sell there for 100,000 for 1 kilo, because they have the money and they buy it anyways, you know. So we're sending it directly to farm sand and then put it in the blockchain, which is then it's gonna be easy track. And there is a story behind also. You can see where does it come from, and the verifiable and trustable.
And disintermediation. This is one of the functions that we talked about with the services through smart contract.
Exactly.
Is that you can, and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically through the use of smart contract, you can put directly in contact a farmer and a buyer on the other side of the world, and remove some, probably not all, but some of the intermediate that each are taking a chunk of money because they provide a service.
Exactly.
So we remove friction, but now we're not removing friction on data, we're removing friction on commodities, on rice.
And something that's really, really needed right now in the world, right? In the next 5-10 years.
Well,
you know, I was unlimited.
I was reading an article yesterday about, basically it's an interview of the CEO of a big supermarket chain in France, Leclerc. And he was saying that they are expecting at least 2-digit raise in price in supermarket in 2023. So they, at least in France, they've already been through more than 10% of price raise on, you know, oil, rice, soup, everything you find in supermarket in 2022. And he's saying that it's going to be an additional 10 to 20% next year. And the thing is, because commodities, fundamental, rice, oil, and all that, they cost more. If we do remove intermediate, if we do remove friction as a whole, we can have an impact on that.
100%.
So that's what FarmSend does.
That's what FarmSend does, basically, So they have the connection also in the real life in the Middle East, where we can provide the food supply to them, and not exploiting basically the farmers, because we are working with the farmers itself, and then the guys that's the founder of the Five Professor is farmer and has the association there in every province in Indonesia. So we got hand in everything, right? Not the technology part only. It's not saying only like, hey, this is blockchain, hey, NFTs and stuff, but literally you can go there, and we will visit there, and we will have the commodity trading first live in the next couple of months, where it's also a new revenue stream for our investors. So the other thing is, next one, that is like real value that is being implemented, is already launched in November, and we had like the private sales and seed phase also, is...
Yeah, that one we talked a lot about.
We talk a lot about it, but I'm just, for new people, is real earth elements. So we're tokenizing mining resources, which is copper, nickel, iron, gold. So resources that will be needed for the next technology implementation, right? Nickel, for example, Elon Musk say like, if you have nickel for us, you will get from us like
a lifetime contract.
A lifetime contract, which is like Indonesia has a lot of nickels, right?
Except if you're a Twitter employee.
Yeah, so it's another topic, So now real earth element is already being implemented, which with a lot of, new aspect, like I said before, like we can create a new system, the way that the old system has been done, and we are creating a new one, like the aspect of the humanity, clean processing, and then in Indonesia we're bringing the technology which helps them to improve the boutique mining, democracy, homegrown. So everything that's actually in the mining where they say like it's dirty, it's dangerous, it's not making money for the miners itself. Through this implementation, everybody can access it.
Yeah. So, okay, what I like about, I love RE as a whole. But to go back to one of the concerns we had about the regulatory framework, this is a beauty of imagination, because the token that is backing this project,
it's
so
registered.
It is a token. So it is a Web3 gizmo, but it is registered with the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission in the US, which makes it regulatory compliant with the biggest player in the world. Because
it's like you buy a stock, basically.
Exactly. Like if your whatever is registered with the SEC as a whatever, everybody is going to look at it, including the big institutional player, and they're going to be like, oh, that's solid. Okay? And this is one of the things that is lacking at the moment in Web3. And this is why that project is literally at the forefront, and I sincerely believe that it is creating a new, it is a new generation, because everybody has created token. As you said, it takes 4 clicks to create a new token for the snail chain. But now it is a security, it is a security as per SEC regulation. And it is backed with commodities, which we know our prices are going through the roof. So it's a Web3 thingy, but it is a security backed with commodities. I love it. Now, on top of it, as you mentioned, it's boutique mining. So instead of blowing up mountains, they work with local people because they want to be respectful, because they want to make sure that they're going to return the land as clean as possible. And instead of blowing the whole thing, they are just saying, okay, here we get gold, here we get copper. But the only way to know that is if you're living on the land. The thing is, all the miners, the old way of mining, which is boutique mining, they went bankrupt when the big companies found a way to extract the ore at a cheaper cost. And the cheaper cost was to just blow up the whole thing and extract whatever you can. But that was very damaging for the environment. The thing is, all the mountains that were supposed to be blown to get ore out of it, they've been blown. So that's why the price of the commodities is going up, because it's harder and harder to find. Therefore, those other mountain or places where you can get ore through boutique mining are becoming profitable again. So there is a convergence here where you have a technology, Web3, token, security, and all that, but it is very respectful of the people living there. It is respectful of the environment as much as it can, because it is still mining, but you know, they are making sure that all the chemicals are being recycled and they are not going into the water and all
Yeah,
that.
we have a lot of presentation about that already. So we can give you more information deeper about that, but that's basically the implementation of the hype. And that's the next hype I'm excited about, because why? We are creating the hype.
So tokenization on the curve was somewhere here.
It's like hype, but
it was
coming
hype,
down.
It was coming down. And basically what you're saying is that with those projects, we're bringing it here. So we're going through the hurdles. We are doing the reality check. We are trying to find the proper regulation and partner in terms of institutions, because
And
the
usefulness.
people we want to get in those projects next are, you know, wealth fund, not some
Crypto boy.
crypto boy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
I like it.
That's the next hype that I believe, we are creating it on the ground, you know. So if you guys asking like, where can I get info, where can I get involved, we are gonna present all this, like especially the new one, you know, the project and the revenue stream about that, how you can get involved is next week, 15th of
Yeah, 15th of November.
Yeah, 15th of November here from 1 to 3 p.m. Just, you know, come into our group and then you can always see the information that's being implemented. So it's just here 1 p.m. I think it's Tuesday until 3 p.m. So you will get more details into it. Cool. Vlad, can you go back to the original
We don't need it.
presentation? It's all.
Yeah, that's all.
So yeah, that's basically all the wave of hypes that
Yeah, if you
We
go,
believe.
the last slide is basically, I got hijacked. I didn't know. I
reward
didn't know
asset
that
tokenization.
he would be doing slides.
Right? So I'm a spontaneous guy, so I'm full of surprise. So it's like, you know.
Okay, do you have questions about the whole thing? The hype, the adoption, Web3, and the tokenization of real world assets.
Does it all make sense somehow?
Are you sleeping?
Irina, are you learning something new? Amazing. Cool. So I think
Well,
our task is done, no?
yeah. Do we have questions online? Usually people online are very sleepy. But,
Hello,
and I understand why.
metaverse people.
Yeah. Okay.
They're good. They're maybe, you know, eating at the same time and then
This is
doing some
exactly
homework.
what I would be doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
being here.